Have you been planning your retirement based on outdated advice? When I started my financial planning career 25 years ago, the prevailing wisdom was that your expenses will continuously climb throughout your golden years as the general cost of living increases. But groundbreaking research suggests that couldn't be more wrong. And this poor advice made many families work longer than needed, save more than they needed, and spend less to enjoy their life. JP Morgan examined over 5 million Chase banking households and uncovered 3 patterns that might completely transform how you prepare for retirement. I'll provide a link to the full report down in the description. To my knowledge, this is the first comprehensive study of this many people, so let's dive into it. If you're new to the channel, my name is Colin Exelby and I'm a certified financial planner with over 25 years of experience providing personal finance advice to business owners and their families. If you've been a part of the community for a while, you know I like to challenge so-called conventional wisdom and see if it holds any water. And contrary to conventional wisdom, spending does follow a predictable arc over our lifetimes. Spending gradually rises from age 20 to 40 as we enter our careers, buy our first homes, and often have children. Expenses typically reach their peak during our late 40s and early 50s, and then they often gradually decline throughout retirement. But what about the significant healthcare increases later in life, Colin? Well, yes, that's true, but this increase is typically more than offset by large reductions in travel, entertainment, and transportation expenses, which result in overall spending decline as retirees age. Traditional retirement planning often incorporates a standard 2 to 3% annual spending increase to accommodate inflation. And that sounds reasonable on the surface. Yet JP Morgan's findings reveal that actual retiree spending grows at a substantially slower pace. Check this out. Using just a 3% annual cost of living increase, a retiree might project needing $146,000 annually by age 95. But real-world data from Chase says that they'll likely need only $90,000. That's a dramatic $56,000 per year difference in this example. This is the problem with traditional financial planners and why I recently published 2 videos with my advice on working past age 65 and the fastest growing video on my channel, 7 great reasons to file for Social Security at age 62. This discrepancy highlights how too many people are sacrificing their current lifestyle while working only to end up with excess savings in retirement. Yes, you heard me right. Too much left over. One fascinating discovery from the research is what could be called the retirement honeymoon phase. JP Morgan identified that retirees spend more than they thought early in retirement, up to 30% more during the 2 years before retirement and the 3 years after retirement. And it's not just JP Morgan. I've seen it with my own clients. Many of us have bucket list items, things that we want to do or places we want to go before we run into our healthy life expectancy, that time where our mobility is severely constrained. This temporary surge typically funds travel, home improvements like that new kitchen that you've been putting off, and various recreational activities. But after this initial splurge, expenses tend to stabilize and eventually decrease as retirees settle into a more routine pattern that costs less, spending more time around the home and with the family. See the forest through the trees is more than a channel, it's a community. Get a private membership for just $2.99 a month and get perks like early video access. Click that join button to learn more. Okay, you've probably heard me talk about what I like to call the retirement red zone. For you football fans, the red zone is the area from the 20-yard line to the goal line, where the decisions are crucial to scoring points, and the last thing you want to do is turn the ball over with a fumble, interception, or take a penalty. The retirement red zone is the 5 years before retirement and the 5 years after retirement. The initial years of retirement can make or break your financial security due to what's called sequence of returns risk. You don't want to have significant portfolio declines in the very beginning of retirement. If you're forced to sell assets when they're down because you need capital to live on, they don't get the chance to recover. Conversely, if a portfolio experiences positive market outcomes in the early years, you're able to sell assets that have risen in price to fund your lifestyle without touching principal. Even with identical average market performance over a 30-year retirement, two retirees can experience vastly different outcomes depending on whether they faced a market downturn or upswing in their early retirement years. It's best to be a little bit more conservative with your portfolio in those initial years by setting aside capital for expenditures that allow your other assets time to recover if they experience a down market in the beginning of retirement. Now, JP Morgan's analysis and my experience finds that most retirees don't follow a consistent spending pattern year after year. 56% of Chase households had major spending fluctuations throughout retirement, and they identified 6 distinct spending patterns among retirees. First, the steady eddies with consistent spending, the downshifters with gradual spending decline, upshifters with gradual spending increase, temporary downshifters where they have short-term spending reductions, and temporary upshifters where they have short-term spending spikes, and finally roller coasters who have significant spending volatility throughout their retirement. Less than 1 in 4 retirees had consistent spending. So what do we do with this data? Well, the conclusions from this research challenge conventional retirement planning that you should take your retirement income need in the first year and just increase it by 3% each year through retirement. Instead, retirement spending often looks more like a smile or a smirk as spending generally declines. Their study of 5 million households ultimately revealed 3 distinct retirement phases, what they call the go-go years, ages 65 to 74. This is the active phase of retirement before reaching your healthy life expectancy with an average annual spending increase of 1.9%. It's dominated by travel and leisure activities, all the things that you wanted to do while you're in good health. Then the slow-go years from 75 to 84, a moderation period where spending slows significantly to approximately 0.5% annually as travel decreases and we do more low-cost things around the house with family. And then the no-go years from age 85 and above. For people that make it to these ages, and many of us won't, we often have significant health hits that make it physically impossible to travel, and discretionary spending falls off a cliff. Yes, healthcare costs significantly rise, but these are more than offset by the significant spending reductions in other areas. Understanding this predictable spending pattern can help you plan to spend more in your early years of retirement while making sure that you still have enough in your back-end years. So let's take a look at an example that compares the traditional approach of retirement planning with a 3% inflation-based cost of living approach with a more dynamic approach to spending, incorporating JP Morgan Chase's observations. In this approach, we will model spending increasing at 1.9% annually in the go-go years, slowing to 0.5% during these slow-go years, and then declining by 0.5% a year in the no-go years of retirement. Look at these differences. By age 95, the inflation-based example estimates roughly twice the spending needs as the JP Morgan category-based spending plan. That is a huge difference. Now, I know what you're going to say. Colin, very few people live to 95. I'm not going to plan for that. But I do think we need to have balance. You need to plan for the here and now, the early parts of retirement, while also making sure that you do have money that will support you in later years, your slow-go and your no-go years of retirement. You know what? JP Morgan's research indicates that embracing a more flexible withdrawal approach could increase success rates and reduce the size of a nest egg needed for a successful retirement by as much as 26%. This revelation suggests that retirees might need several $100,000 less than conventional wisdom dictates if they plan according to a more realistic spending pattern rather than fixed annual increases. So which makes more sense to you? This new approach to spending assumptions could turn retirement planning on its head. It could result in less stress and anxiety for retirees and a more rewarding, less penny-pinching life. I would love to hear what you think. down in the comments. The key, in my opinion, is to avoid back of the napkin calculations and rules of thumb. Get clear on your current finances and be clear on your retirement plans. Then you can create an actual plan customized to you. What do you think about this JP Morgan study? Would you adjust your retirement strategy based on this new research? Share your thoughts in the comments below and make sure you're subscribed to the #1 personal finance channel on YouTube. This one, See the Forest Through the Trees. And if you own a business and are interested in optimizing your financial planning, you can get started working with me today by visiting celestialwm.com and clicking the Start Here tab to schedule an initial call. Still not sure you want to talk? Well, head over to my resource center and learn about my financial planning process by watching my 35-minute complimentary training. And check out this video next for even more ways to supercharge your net worth.